At 4:47 a.m., a combine's headlights cut through pre-dawn darkness in Kansas wheat country. The operator has been in that cab for 11 hours straight. He'll work 7 more before the sun sets. This isn't a one-day push. It's week 6 of a season that won't end until late fall. And for farmers across America, this isn't harvest season. It's harvest marathon. Most people think farming means spring planting and fall harvesting. 2 busy months, maybe 3. But talk to any commercial farmer and they'll laugh at that timeline. The reality? Harvest starts in late spring and doesn't stop until early winter. That's 8 months of nearly non-stop work. 8 months of 18-hour days. 8 months of eating meals in tractor cabs and sleeping in 4-hour shifts. This is how farmers actually survive one of the most grueling work schedules in any industry. Here's what that timeline really looks like. In southern states, winter wheat harvest begins in May. By June, operations move north. Kansas cuts 328 million bushels of hard red winter wheat between mid-June and mid-July. Then comes spring wheat in Montana and the Dakotas through August. Soybeans follow in September. Corn harvest runs from mid-September through November, sometimes into December if weather turns bad. And many farmers aren't growing just one crop. They're rotating through multiple harvests on the same operation, each with its own narrow window before weather destroys months of work. This creates a cascading crisis of time. Miss your wheat window because of rain and you're late for soybeans. Fall behind on soybeans and corn harvest gets pushed into freezing temperatures that can ruin the crop. One Nebraska farmer put it this way: "You're not racing against the clock, you're racing against winter, and winter doesn't negotiate. But the calendar is only half the problem." The real challenge is what this schedule does to the human body. Studies on agricultural workers found that during peak seasons, farmers sleep an average of 25 to 30 minutes less per night. Doesn't sound like much, but do the math. Over 8 weeks, that's 14 hours of lost sleep. Over 8 months, the deficit becomes catastrophic. Research shows that being awake for 21 consecutive hours produces the same cognitive impairment as a blood alcohol level of 0.08, legally drunk, and farmers are operating $100,000 machines while making split-second decisions in this state. The injury statistics prove it. Farmers who sleep less than 7.5 hours per night increase their risk of serious injury by 61%. Agriculture already ranks among the most dangerous civilian occupations, and sleep deprivation makes it worse. Tractor rollovers, auger entanglements, grain bin suffocations, these aren't accidents caused by inexperience. They're the result of people whose executive function has shut down after weeks of running on empty. So why do farmers push themselves this hard? Because there's no alternative. Crops don't wait. Wheat harvested too early has high moisture content and won't store without expensive drying. Harvested too late and grain shatters in the field, spilling onto the ground. Corn left standing past optimal moisture becomes worthless livestock feed instead of premium grain. Every day of delay costs thousands of dollars. Weather is the enforcer. A forecast showing rain in 3 days means you work around the clock to get the crop out before fields turn to mud and combines sink axle deep. One Ontario farmer described working 14 to 16-hour days for weeks straight during harvest, knowing that delays could mean significant financial losses if the crop gets damaged before it can be stored. Research from Ontario showed that every day delayed past the optimum seeding window for winter, wheat resulted in a 1.1 bushel per acre loss in yield. At current prices, that's nearly $8 per acre per day. On a 1,000-acre operation, 1 week of delays costs over $50,000 before accounting for quality premiums. And here's the cruel irony: the better a farmer manages their operation, the more brutal harvest becomes. Diversified farms growing wheat, corn, soybeans, and hay across hundreds or thousands of acres face overlapping harvest windows with zero room for error. Success means more work, longer hours, deeper exhaustion. Now imagine trying to eat properly in this environment. You can't. Research shows farmers during harvest have low intake of fruits and vegetables and high intake of fried foods, salt, and sugary snacks. One Ontario cash crop farmer admitted his biggest challenge was keeping junk food out of the tractor, because when you're bored and exhausted, a bag of chips is easier than the meal your spouse packed. Proper nutrition requires planning, and planning requires mental energy that farmers simply don't have after 12 hours in a combine. Some farm families have figured out workarounds: meal prepping on Sundays, crock-pot meatball subs wrapped in foil and stored in coolers, portable one-handed food that won't fall apart when you're steering with your knee. But even the most organized operations struggle. One farmer's wife described taking meals to the field in disposable containers because reusable ones would disappear for weeks, bouncing around grain trucks in 100-degree heat, growing science experiments that required burning to sterilize. The reality is that harvest meals aren't about nutrition, they're about fuel. Hard-boiled eggs and almonds for protein, string cheese for calcium, frozen water bottles that double as ice packs and drinks. Everything designed to be eaten one-handed while monitoring equipment, checking moisture levels, and watching the sky for weather changes. But the body can only run on inadequate fuel for so long. Farmers report that by late season, they're not tired. They're operating in a fog. Decision-making slows. Reaction times crater. Simple tasks require twice the effort. One Nebraska study found that with just a minor change in routine, taking short naps during breaks, adjusting schedules slightly, farmers could offset some of this risk. But most don't, because admitting you need a nap feels like weakness when your neighbor's combine is still running. And then there's the equipment, because nothing makes exhaustion worse than a breakdown during the most critical week of the year. Even a 12-hour breakdown during harvest can allow time for a rainstorm, forcing you to wait multiple additional days or put your crop through mechanical drying. Research from Iowa State University found that just one 8-hour day of downtime can cost growers $2,400 at planting and $900 at harvest when using standard equipment. Industry studies show that 65% of harvest failures could have been prevented with proper pre-harvest inspection and routine maintenance. But here's the catch. Preventive maintenance requires time that farmers don't have. Service shops get overwhelmed during harvest season, leaving farmers waiting days for simple repairs. Parts that should be in stock run out when everyone's harvesting simultaneously, and repair costs during harvest season run 40 to 60% higher than off-season work due to urgency premiums. So farmers gamble. They skip maintenance during the busy months and pray nothing breaks. Sometimes they win. Often they don't. When equipment does fail, the cost cascades. There's the repair bill. There's the lost productivity while the machine sits idle. There's the rushed parts orders with expedited shipping. There's the overtime labor trying to make up lost time. Research found that restrictive repair policies and unplanned breakdowns cost farmers an average of $3,300 per season in repair downtime alone. That's just the direct costs. It doesn't account for the crop damage, the quality loss, or the mental toll of watching a year's income disappear because a belt snapped. Here's what nobody talks about. Harvest season doesn't just test physical endurance. It tests marriages, family relationships, mental health. Farmers work 7-day weeks with no days off. They miss kids' school events, anniversaries, normal family dinners. Spouses become logistics coordinators, managing meals, parts runs, grain hauling, everything that keeps the operation moving, while their partner is trapped in a cab. Children learn that harvest means dad or mom essentially disappears for months. The psychological toll compounds the physical one. Studies found that 45% of migrant agricultural workers experienced elevated depressive symptoms during harvest season. Farm families face financial stress, isolation, and the constant pressure of knowing that one equipment breakdown, one injury, one bad decision made while exhausted could destroy an entire year's income. The Centers for Disease Control reported that male farmers have a significantly higher suicide rate than the overall population. And while that statistic reflects year-round pressures, harvest season intensifies everything. And yet, they do it. Year after year, farmers return to this grinding cycle. Why? Because agriculture isn't just a job, it's an identity. It's multi-generational land that can't be abandoned. It's feeding a country that has no idea what it takes to put food on grocery shelves. One farmer described it simply: "This is what we do. We work when the crop is ready. We sleep when it's done. We survive because there's no other option." But survival shouldn't be the standard. The agricultural industry has made massive advances in equipment technology: GPS-guided combines, LED lighting that allows night harvesting, machinery that can cover hundreds of acres per day. Yet none of that technology solves the fundamental problem. Farmers are still human, and humans need sleep, nutrition, and rest. The machines got better. The humans didn't get more resilient. Some operations are finding solutions, hiring additional workers to create shifts instead of marathons, diversifying income streams. So one bad harvest doesn't mean financial ruin, using farm management software to optimize schedules and reduce wasted time. But these solutions require capital that many family farms don't have. The reality is that most farmers are locked into a system that demands they sacrifice their health for their livelihood. Consider what that sacrifice looks like on a molecular level. Sleep deprivation doesn't just make you tired, it impairs every system in your body. Your immune system weakens, your metabolism slows, your cardiovascular system strains. Chronic sleep debt is linked to diabetes, obesity, heart disease, and shortened lifespan. And farmers are choosing to accumulate this debt year after year because the alternative is losing the farm. The nutrition situation compounds the health crisis. During harvest, farmers eat whatever's fastest and requires the least cleanup. That means processed foods high in sodium, sugar, and saturated fat. It means skipping meals entirely because stopping the combine feels wasteful. It means downing energy drinks to stay alert during night harvesting. The body runs on stress hormones and caffeine, not real fuel. And when harvest finally ends, farmers are so depleted that recovery takes weeks. The 8-month harvest season reveals something uncomfortable about modern agriculture. We've built a food system that depends on a few 100,000 people willing to work themselves to the point of collapse. We've engineered crops for higher yields and mechanized production for efficiency, but we haven't solved the human cost. Farmers still eat cold sandwiches in tractor cabs at midnight. They still operate on 4 hours of sleep. They still push through exhaustion that would be illegal in almost any other industry. And when you sit down to eat tonight, the wheat in your bread, the corn in your cereal, the soybeans in your cooking oil, all of it exists because someone worked an 18-hour day to harvest it. Someone skipped sleep to beat the rain. Someone ate dinner out of a foil wrapper at 9 p.m. in a combine cab because there was no time to stop. Someone chose to ignore their body's warning signs because the harvest won't wait and the bills won't pay themselves. The next time you pass a field at night and see combine lights cutting through darkness, remember, that's not just farming. That's someone grinding through month 7 of an 8-month marathon, running on fumes and determination. That's someone who woke up at 4:30 this morning and won't see their bed until after 10 tonight. That's someone who knows exactly how much damage they're doing to their body, but keeps going anyway because stopping isn't an option. The question isn't whether farmers can survive this schedule. They do every year. The question is whether they should have to. Whether we should accept a food system that requires human sacrifice as its foundation. Whether the people who feed us should have to choose between their health and their livelihood. Because right now, 8 months out of every year, that's exactly the choice they're making.